All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to do a Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner update, but this is going to be a monthly edition. All the Bitcoin miners have put out their January results. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. I want to focus on a couple of things. We're going to talk a lot about HODL, and I have a new chart that I will be bringing you in this video. So a bunch to go through. Again, this is all in the month of January. Special request, if you guys could please smash the like button. We're going for 700 likes on this video. It's been making a gigantic difference. We've been reaching our goal, so please help us reach that goal. It helps the video, it helps the channel. If you're interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, we cover that content all the time on this channel, so consider subscribing. We're getting close to 20,000 subscribers, so thanks to all of our existing subscribers. All right, let's get going with the month of January. First chart, production by Bitcoin miner. Okay, so you're going to notice we have a new entry on the chart. Last year, Core Scientific was in Chapter 11 for the entire year. So while I was showing their numbers, I was not ranking them. But they are now out of Chapter 11. They are now traded on the NASDAQ again. So they're back in these charts. You're going to see even with Core Scientific, Marathon was in first place in the month of January. Now, they've been in first place as far as the number of Bitcoin mined every month for the better part of a year now. Even though they had a big drop off from December to January, the largest out of all of the Bitcoin miners, they still ended up in first place in number of Bitcoin mined. So 1,084 Bitcoin mined for Marathon, that was first place. 1,027 Bitcoin mined for Core Scientific, that was a close second place. It is worth noting, Marathon said that they had some trouble with their facilities. That trouble was spilling into February, at least the first week or two, so it's possible that these numbers will be close again in the month of February. Marathon really should be mining a lot more than Core Scientific. They do have a lot more exahash, but we're going to see. That's one of the reasons we go through all these charts. We want to look at individual performance on a monthly basis, and it's also another reason I do a lot of deep dives. So if you're interested in what happened to Marathon in the month of January, I did do a Marathon deep dive video, so you can check that out on the channel. Okay, after those two, after Marathon and Core Scientific, number 3 is CleanSpark. CleanSpark came in at 577 Bitcoin. It's worth noting all 11 of these. Typically, I do the top 10, but with the addition of Core Scientific, I did the top 11 this month. We'll see how that goes the rest of the year. All 11 of these companies mined less Bitcoin in the month of January than they did in the month of December. A lot of that has to do with the fact that December was more of an anomaly. The fees were gigantic in the month of December, and that helped the Bitcoin miners collect a lot of extra Bitcoin. So this is a little bit more of a return to normalcy. In addition to that, the global hash rate and the difficulty level continues to increase. And so obviously that has an inverse effect on the Bitcoin miners' ability to mine Bitcoin. Number 1 and 2, Marathon and Core Scientific, are significantly larger numbers than number 3 and 4, CleanSpark and Riot. But then there's another drop off to get to 5th place. From 5th place on to the rest of this list, it's pretty close. So Cypher finished in 5th place with 371 Bitcoin. There's a number above each stock ticker. That's their rank this month. There's a number below each stock ticker. That was their rank last month. So Core Scientific had no rank last month as they were still in Chapter 11. So with the addition to this, a lot of these companies look like they bumped down one in position, but really that's just a function of the fact that Core Scientific was added to the list. Then you have Bitfarms in 6th place, Iris in 7th, HUT in 8th, BitDeer in 9th. They're all fairly close. The difference between 6th and 9th is 357 Bitcoin mined to 330 Bitcoin mined. So this is going to be very interesting. There's a pack here in the middle of about 5 or 6 Bitcoin miners that are really going to be very competitive in the first quarter of the year. A couple of these, I think, are going to pull away from the pack if they're able to execute their plans that they have. And in specific, Bitfarms and Iris Energy have fairly big growth plans. I expect them to jump out ahead of some of these other companies, but we will see. It's all going to depend on execution. Then you see TeraWulf in 10th place at 313. A couple other companies have also put out some very decent growth plans. Cypher's talked about adding a significant amount of exahash, and TeraWulf has talked about adding a significant amount of exahash. Hive, very quietly, has added a bunch of miners and has a bunch more on the way, but I do expect them to stay in 11th place, and I will note the drop-off from 10th to 11th is fairly significant. Hive at 235, and the drop-off after Hive is even more significant after that, so I do not expect any other Bitcoin miner to crack into this list in the year 2024. Now, we could get surprised. One of the other Bitcoin miners could have big plans that they just haven't announced yet, so that's why we look at this every month, but I do expect this list of 11 to remain remain. The question is going to be, what order are they going to be in? And I do think there will be a lot of shifting around in the year 2024, just like there was in the year 2023. Okay, so we don't need to do the year to date. Obviously, this is only the first month of the year, so these are the year to date numbers. The next list we're going to jump to is exahash. Okay, again, on this list, you can see there's some companies that are pulling away from the pack. Now, there are other companies with some significant growth plans. We'll talk about that, but at the moment, as of January 31st, Marathon had 26.4 exahash. Now, like I talked about, some of that was offline, so their production was down. These machines are installed, energized, so they're at 26.4 exahash in the lead by far. Core Scientific at 18.6 exahash. They have had some significant growth over the last couple of months in exahash. They are in second place at the moment. And then you're going to see Riot Blockchain at 12.4. Riot Blockchain's been at 12.4 exahash for a significant period of time. They do have plans to get to 20 exahash in the first half of 2024. We should start to see some exahash come online from Riot Blockchain sooner than later. In fourth place is CleanSpark at 10.1 exahash. CleanSpark's been at 10 exahash for a few months as well. However, it is worth noting they just put this press release out on February 15th. They are now at 14 exahash. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is a little sneak peek into the February numbers. CleanSpark will jump up quite a bit. Again, to go back to the chart, they're at just over 10 exahash as of January 31st. So just 15 days later, they've gotten themselves up to 14 exahash. So they will probably jump Riot in the month of February. We'll see what happens. Then there's a pretty significant drop off. You've got a tie with Cypher and HODL at 7.2 exahash. Cypher's articulated some significant growth plans in the year 2024. HODL has really yet to let us know when or if or how they're going to grow their exahash in 2024. So while these two are tied at fifth, I expect that to be a temporary situation. I would think Cypher will pull ahead of them, at least in the short term. In seventh place, just 0.1 exahash behind, is TeraWulf. So they have also talked about some significant growth plans in the year 2024. I would expect them to continue to drive up this list as well. You've got BitDeer at 6.7%, Bitfarms at 6.5%. Bitfarms has probably, as a percentage, the largest growth plans out of all these Bitcoin miners. They expect to be at 12 exahash in the first half of 2024, so I think you can expect them to jump up this list quite a bit as well. Iris Energy in 10th, they have growth plans to get to 10 exahash in the first half of 2024, and then Hive at 3.85. So far, they've talked about growth plans to get to 6 exahash. So again, this is the top 11. I'm going to keep monitoring these 11. I'll probably keep doing the top 11 just because we added Core Scientific. Now, at some point, if there's a more natural top 10, maybe we'll move to that. Okay, here we go. The next chart is Bitcoin mining efficiency. So this is basically the number of Bitcoin mined divided by the number of exahash that the company had actively mining in the month. So you're going to see I have 3 of these in a lighter shade of blue. These 3, Bitfarms, Hive, and Iris Energy, almost every single month for the last 13 months. These 3 have been the top 3 Bitcoin miners. Now, in the month of December, actually, Marathon jumped ahead of them for 1 month. They've fallen back to a little more normal place in the middle of the pack. So these 3 have been standouts, so they continue to be standouts. I will say CleanSpark's usually in the top 4 as well. They're a very efficient miner, but you're going to see a lot of the Bitcoin miners are getting more and more efficient. These numbers are tightening up quite a bit. The difference between first place and 7th place is really only a drop off from 61 Bitcoin per exahash to 56 Bitcoin per exahash. A year ago, there were dramatic differences in the level of efficiency with these Bitcoin miners, but we are now just 2 months away from the halving. So I think most of these miners have spent the last year really working on their efficiency because that is going to be critical post-halving. So Bitfarms just eked out first place with 61, and then Hive and Iris Energy in second place at 60. TeraWulf and Core Scientific tied for fourth place at 58. CleanSpark just one behind them at 57. Marathon at 56. Then you have a little bit of a drop-off. Cypher at 52. Then BitDeer goes down to 51. Riot 48 and HODL 47. It is worth noting, in the past, Riot has been in last place on this list. Even if we just go back to last month and look at December, you're going to see typically they're pretty significantly behind the rest of the field. So all the Bitcoin miners miners had a pretty tough month of January, but inside of that is kind of hidden that Riot actually started to become more competitive. They're still at or near the bottom of this list, but they are starting to get more competitive, and it is going to be crucial that they move themselves into the middle of the pack. Their ability to get more efficient, I think, is going to be the #1 indicator and dictator as to how their stock performs in the year 2024. Of course, that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. Okay, now HODL. This is the one I really wanted to talk about. We're now just 2 months short of the halving. So I've been talking about the fact that I think after the halving, it's going to be very difficult for the vast majority of these Bitcoin miners to add to their HODL position. Now, there will be a couple that have scaled up enough that they may continue to be able to add to their HODL position. But like I said, that will be maybe 1 or 2 or 3. The rest of these, it's going to be very difficult to add a significant amount of Bitcoin to their HODL position anywhere for the next 6 months to a year after the halving, in my opinion. These numbers are going to be, to a certain extent, semi-locked in about 2 months from now. At the moment, it looks like there's 3 companies, but I think there's really 4 companies that are breaking away from the pack. We're going to start with Marathon. They have had the largest HODL position for quite some time now, all year in the year 2023. Now, I've put 16,441. They have 700 Bitcoin that are collateralized, so they're not including it in their stack. If I add those together, that's over 16,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Again, some of those are collateralized. That still leaves them at around 15,700 Bitcoin if you count it that way. Significantly more than second place, which is HUT. HUT's in second place at 9,116. They've basically been around this same number for the last 13 months. So they are in second place and they have a significant HODL stack, but they haven't really had the ability to add to that stack. We need to see what their philosophy is going to be going forward. Are they going to hold on to this stack? I know an awful lot of investors in the Bitcoin miners. Typically, when we run a poll on this channel, more than 50% of the people that are interested in investing in Bitcoin miners are only interested in investing in those miners that have a HODL position. So you're going to see with this list, that's actually a very short list of miners. A lot of the top 10 Bitcoin miners sell all their Bitcoin every single month, and that's why you'll see some of them aren't even on this list. Okay, so in third place is Riot. Riot's at 7,648 Bitcoin. So at the moment, these top 3 have broken away from the field, but I will say we're going to take a closer look at CleanSpark. They are now at 3,573 Bitcoin as of January 31st. Just 4 months ago, they were at about 500 Bitcoin. They were selling all of their Bitcoin throughout the crypto winter and prior to the crypto winter. So they dollar cost averaged out of their Bitcoin. And that's a strategy that worked very well for them. However, now, moving into this next bull market, they have shifted their strategy and they are starting to HODL. Like I said, they've run this number up from about 500 to 3,500 in just about maybe the last 5 months. It looks to me like they're going to be able to get over 5,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet prior to the halving. So really, I think that's going to separate these 4 companies from the rest. In 5th place is Hive. They've dedicated themselves to trying to get some more Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and we're going to take a look. The next chart we're going to look at is going to show you they've had some success with this. So Hive is in 5th place, just under 2,000. Then we get to Cypher in 6th place at 1,132. After that, there's not another Bitcoin miner that has over 1,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. You've got 2 that are close. Bitfarms at 804. BitDigital, stock ticker BTBT at 739. It's going to be very hard for BitDigital to get to 1,000. Bitfarms may get to 1,000, but even at 1,000 or less, these are fairly small HODL positions. And then you've got DMG Blockchain at number 9 at 468, and you don't even have anybody in 10th place. There really isn't another Bitcoin miner HODLing a significant amount of Bitcoin. Everybody else is significantly less than 100. Most of them are 0 or not reporting any at all on their balance sheet. So my big takeaway from this is there's really 4 of these companies that will have broken away from the field from a HODL position. So if that's one of the key indicators for you as a potential investor, then this is a chart you may want to pay attention to. Okay, this is a new chart. I have not done this before, and I think I'm going to be doing this for the rest of the year this year. This tracks how many Bitcoin each company added to their HODL position in this current month. So you can see there's some pretty dramatic numbers on here. Marathon added 1,267 Bitcoin to their HODL position this month. Now, 700 of those are collateralized, but either way, they added a significant amount of Bitcoin to their HODL position. They actually went out and bought Bitcoin. So some of the Bitcoin they added to their HODL position was not even self-mined. They went out and purchased some, somewhere I think at around $38,000. Now, typically I don't like to see this because these companies are Bitcoin mining companies, but Marathon and Riot, to single out a few, have such a significant amount of liquidity that, if this is a small bet they wanted to make, I'm fine with it. Obviously, that's for each one of you guys to decide if you think that's a solid strategy or if you would like to see them just to stick to mining their Bitcoin, not buying their Bitcoin. I think this is the first time they've done this since 2021, so this is not a normal strategy for them. We'll see if it starts to become one, although the price of Bitcoin has jumped quite a bit since then. Okay, in second place is CleanSpark. Like I said, CleanSpark has dramatically increased their HODL position from about 500 to about 3,500, and you can see 571 of those were in the month of January. In the month of February, we just took a look. They got an additional 4 exahash online, up and running and hashing. So there's the potential for them to add even more than this in the month of February. And then they've got maybe another month and a half left after that before the halving. So that's why I do think they can get from 3,500 to maybe 5,000 by the halving. You'll see Cypher's actually stepped up quite a bit. They just crossed over 1,000 Bitcoin HODL position this month. And that is a function of the fact that they added 336 to their Bitcoin HODL. So it looks like they're trying to maximize this period of time between now and the halving to get as much Bitcoin on their balance sheet as they can. Riot added 286. So again, all the more reason why, the more efficient they are, the more Bitcoin that they can mine, the more they can add to that HODL position. They are already the third largest HODL stack. Hive, which has also come out and said they're dedicated to adding to their HODL position between now and the halving, they added 232. So next month, they should go over 2,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And then BitDigital added 97 Bitcoin. These are the only companies that actually HODLed any Bitcoin in the month of January. There were 2 companies that actually sold a little more Bitcoin than they mined, but it was a fairly insignificant amount. Stock ticker any, which is Sphere 3D, I think, they had a net decrease of somewhere around 15, and HUT had a net decrease somewhere around 70. So again, very small versus their HODL position of over 9,000 Bitcoin. So I wouldn't jump to any conclusions and say that that's an indicator that they're going to start selling their Bitcoin. We'll have to wait and see, but that's why I want to look at this chart. I've added this chart so we can see on a going forward basis what people are doing with their stack. So that's it. That's what all the Bitcoin miners did in the month of January. So we're in the middle of February now. Of course, as soon as these numbers come out for the month of February, we'll get out another video like this next month. We do this every single month. In addition to that, sometime by the end of what is a long weekend in the US, again, just to remind everybody, there is no trading on Monday in the US. So I will be getting another video out this weekend, and that will be our weekly update to take a look at what all the Bitcoin miners did in this past week. So thanks again for watching. Again, if you are not subscribed, we are making a push for 20,000 subscribers. So consider subscribing to the channel, consider smashing the like button. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.